What's going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with the bank shot breakdown for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Let me know your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, the games that I absolutely love, make sure you head to pickdawgz.com. Click the experts tab at the top of the page. Remember to use the promo code PICK at checkout and get 15% off your purchase. But, we're here talking about some college hoops. Don't adjust your sets. Ron needed the day off, so I told him I would fill in. College hoops is one of my favorite sports to handicap. So, got a smaller card on Thursday, but still going to have 5 games for you guys here that we're going to talk about. Some marquee matchups, some maybe under the radar spots. Let's not waste any more time. You guys know the drill. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game is the Island game at 11 a.m. Eastern. It is South Alabama and Central Michigan, part of the showdown in St. Pete. And Central Michigan, I gave Central Michigan the benefit of the doubt when they were playing Bradley. They were coming off that solid home win over App State, and they just went into Bradley and got absolutely demolished. So now I see Central Miss, catching a smaller number, 4.5 points here. And the only area where I see Central Michigan having any sort of advantage over South Alabama is at the free throw line. South Alabama, a really solid defensive unit. They were really solid defense last year. Didn't give up many free throws. They were really solid on the glass. And they've been really solid on the glass this season. 22nd in defensive rebounding through their first 2 games. Like I said, Central Michigan, an 81% free throw shooting team through their first 2 games, but South Alabama hasn't given up many free throws. And like I said, I think that's where the disparity in this matchup is. This is a South Alabama team that is really solid in terms of shooting the basketball. They are really good at 2-point shooting, and that's where a lot of their points come from. Central Michigan, fairly weak inside the perimeter. I'm going to go with South Alabama here, laying the 4.5 points. Now the backyard brawl is headed to the hardwood as West Virginia plays host to Pitt. This one's going off at 6 p.m. Eastern. And, West Virginia is, for me, a loaded team this year. Now you had Darian DeVries take off for Indiana. You bring in Ross Hodge from North Texas, and Ross Hodge brought a lot of talent with him to Morgantown, and a lot of experience as well. You look at the Mountaineers, they're 7th in the country in Division One experience. Not a lot of minutes continuity, but you wouldn't know that from how they looked in their first 3 games. They beat Mount St. Mary's, Campbell, and then dominated Lehigh last time out, 69-47. Now all those wins have come at home, but the thing is, they are at home for this one too. And Pitt, sort of in the same boat as West Virginia. Not a lot of continuity from last year. They still have some, but they did lose a lot of their top talent. Jalen Lowe, Ish Leggett, just a lot of pieces missing from Pittsburgh. And the problem is Pittsburgh also played their first 3 games at home. And while they did play tougher competition, we've also seen this is a Pitt team that in the past has not been able to travel well. Just 10-14-1 against the spread are the Panthers on the road across the last 2+ seasons. I just think West Virginia, is the better and the more talented team here. I'm going to lay the 4.5 points with the Mountaineers at home in this one. Next, we're going to the Coleman Coliseum for this game between Alabama and Purdue, one of the headliner matchups at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Alabama looked really good in that game against St. John's. 103 points. They shot the lights out in that game. They got up and down the floor, and they really did some damage in that matchup. They shot 28 of 46 from 2-point range. They hit 11 threes, but they also left some points at the foul line, and that's a little bit concerning for me, considering that this is a really good Purdue team, a really experienced Purdue team that's 26th in experience within the roster. And not only that, Purdue has a lot of continuity coming back from last year's roster. They're 21st in the country in minutes continuity coming back from last year's team, and a lot of those minutes came from some of the best players, not just in Purdue or in the Big Ten, but in the country. And Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, you got size with Daniel Jacobson up front at 7'4", and Oscar Clough, who was a double-double machine at South Dakota State. Alabama has a lot of talented pieces themselves, most notably LeBaron Philon. They've got just a lot of pieces, and I do think that this Alabama team is going to be in the running for a 1 seed come March. But I think 3.5 points, especially up over a full possession with Purdue, is kind of where I want to be here. This is a Purdue team that's, like I said, experienced. They're not going to be intimidated going into Alabama. And I think that, Purdue, even though they have faced the lesser competition up to this point, are still going to be up to the task. They take care of the basketball. Neither one of these teams really forces turnovers. And Alabama is the better team on the glass, but I trust Purdue to make their shots to keep themselves in this one and potentially give themselves a shot to win it outright. I'm going to go with Purdue here plus the 3.5. Now we are headed to the Big Apple at 7 Eastern for this matchup between Columbia and UMass Lowell. And I remember a time where UMass Lowell, no less than a couple years ago, were expected by many to be the team that would thwart Vermont in the America East Conference. Has been dominated by the Catamounts for the better part of the last decade. And, now you have Brian in there. Maybe it could be the Bulldogs. But all of a sudden, UMass Lowell has fallen off a cliff. They have a win over a subdivision opponent this year, and both these teams have basically played the same schedule through the first two games: New Haven and UConn. The difference: Columbia picked up an 18-point win over New Haven, who's ranked 361st in KenPom, while UMass Lowell lost to New Haven at home 73-67. Both these teams got whitewashed by UConn, so I'm not really given any benefit to that or taking any points away on either side. But the game against New Haven was a lot to take. There's a lot to take away from that, and the only area where UMass can do damage here is at the foul line. Through their first two games against Division I opposition, UMass Lowell is first in the country in point distribution by way of free throws. 38.6 of their points so far this season have come from the foul line. I don't know if that's going to help them here. This is a team that is 361st in 2-point shooting, 312th in 3-point shooting. And they don't play at a very fast pace. They don't take care of the basketball, and they're not a very good rebounding team. There's just so much going against UMass Lowell here. Columbia, not necessarily a team that's known for blowing teams out of the water, and they're about a bang average team in terms of offensive efficiency early on this season. But I think Columbia is just a far better team here. Until Columbia shows me until UMass Lowell shows me something, I got to keep going the other way. Give me Columbia here, laying the 9 points. And our final game comes to us from St. Paul, where the St. Thomas Tommies take on the Green Bay Phoenix, going down at 8 p.m. Eastern. And St. Thomas has kind of strayed away from what they've really done well through their first few years at the Division I level, and that's been shooting the three. They are usually a team that really attempts a lot of threes and makes them at a high rate, but so far out of the gate has not been the case. 26.7% shooting from three-point range in their first couple games. That pales in comparison to the 35% to 38% we're used to seeing from the Tommies through their first few years. But they're also hitting their two-point shots early on this season. Almost 65% from two-point range, is 25th in the country. Now, both these teams will hit the offensive glass hard, and that was the big reason why St. Thomas, hasn't necessarily had the best amount of success against St. Mary's, even in a rematch, and against Washington State, as they were just out rebounded and dominated on the glass, almost doubled up by Washington State, as St. Thomas only had 19 rebounds in that loss to the Cougars. But I don't see that being an issue here against Green Bay. Green Bay not necessarily great on the defensive glass, and their offense hasn't been anything special. And this is a St. Thomas team that can defend the three, but I just don't trust Green Bay offensively. I think this is one of the worst teams in Division I. I think they're just poorly coached with Doug Gottlieb. They kept it close against Buffalo, but I think this is a game where St. Thomas opens it up offensively. I just don't see Green Bay keeping this one close. I have St. Thomas winning this one by 15 plus. I'm going to go with the Tommies, laying the 11 points to round things out. That's it. That's your college basketball action for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please smash that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you leave your college basketball picks in the comment section below. If you're looking for my best bets, the games that I absolutely love, again, make sure you head to pickdawgz.com, click the experts tab at the top of the page. Remember to use the promo code PICK at checkout and get 15% off your purchase. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys.